Let's make it a good day.
Coming up today, was a co-host responsible for Marie Osmond's exit from CBS's The Talk? The story is getting juicy. Then, did you know the world's best onion rings were found right here in Minnesota? A new film introduces us to the Ringmaster. And a throwback party. We're stepping in the Wayback Machine with hysterical classic toy commercials. Here we go.
Let's make it a good day. We do it our own way. Let's make it a good day. Oh, no matter what they say. Oh, yeah.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are live from our studios in the prairie of the Eden. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for making us a part of it. I'm Jace. Please, at home, on your couch, on your lazy boy, on the floor, on a napping circle, please give it up for our good friend, Miss Kendall.
Hi, everyone. If you're watching on a napping circle, I'm so jealous.
Well, I meant like a napping carpet. Remember in kindergarten?
Yes.
You would get a little carpet square, and you got to lay down on that and nap. Mm-hmm. Those were the good old days. You didn't have to worry about anything like a phone bill.
No, and like nobody cared about germs either. I mean, you all just shared the napping mat.
By the way, did you hear about that kindergarten teacher that was fired for having like a bazillion tattoos? I think this was in London. He had tattoos all over his body, and then he had black eyes. He changed the color of his eyes. So he was scaring the bejeebies out of the kids. And so they fired him, and now he's all worked up over it. And I said, look, I'm not prudish. I like a good tattoo.
Yeah.
I'll eventually get one of the Dallas logo on my arm. Mm-hmm. But looking at the guy, I think it would be a distraction for the kindergartners. I'm frightened. He's scary to me, and I'm 46.
I mean, I feel like we could deal with the tattoos. It's the blacking out of the eyes.
Yeah, he blacked out his eyes, and he colored his tongue.
What?
So, yeah, he tattooed his tongue, too.
Is this a real story, or did you read this on The Onion?
How dare you question the validity of this story in our desk chat segment? No, it's very true. In the commercial break, I'll show you a picture of him.
Please.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull, I can't go over there legally. But anyway, pull up your phone right now. Google it on your phone. You can touch it. Just put fired teacher for tattoos, because I want to see your live reaction. Okay. And then we'll be singing a different tune when you see Mr. Black Eyes.
Okay.
He looks like something that crawled out of that well that the little ring girl crawled out of. You know, and he's a good-looking guy in the tattoo. See? What did I tell you?
Oh my Lanta! Someone did this to themselves and then taught tiny humans?
Well, and again, the tattoos by themselves are gorgeous. They're works of art. But I have to side with the school board and the parents. It would be, fundamentally, all kidding aside, it would be distracting to the kiddos. Can you imagine little Tommy looking up and seeing, oh, why is Mr. Livingston's eyes black? You know? They wouldn't be able to concentrate on blocks or whatever you do in kindergarten. What do you do in kindergarten? I mean, is it nothing? I don't know. Anyway.
You've lost me this entire show now.
See, isn't that fascinating?
Y'all need to do this.
I'm telling you. Anyway, and by the way, happy Coffee Day, too. It's International Coffee Day today. So I celebrated by bringing our executive producer coffee, like I do every single day of my life.
Yes. Noted that Jeff always gets coffee, and Ted always gets coffee, and then I walk by the office, and guess who doesn't have coffee?
You?
Me.
Well, let's also be clear, Ted doesn't get coffee either. But I mean, I'm just being very accurate. So I need to start bringing Ted coffee, because fundamentally Ted's...
You need to start bringing Ted coffee. What about me?
Ted's usually nicer to me than Jeff is. So, I mean, if we're going by that, I should be bringing Ted coffee. And you, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting about you. You too. Anyway.
Thank you.
Let's get started, everybody. It's time for the hot dish. Here we go. Thank you. Ted was unusually quiet in my ear during that whole exchange.
Segment, yeah.
I wonder what he's really thinking. He's like, yeah, you should be bringing me coffee. Let's get started. It was Disney night on Dancing with the Semi-Stars last night, and the judges started getting tough. Okay, great. Before we show you what happened, here's our FCC-regulated spoiler alert. There we go. The stars danced to some of Disney's classics. I always love this. But also some of the newer hits. Here are some. We've put together a little combo platter of the better performances. So good. Jeannie danced the Viennese waltz to Up. Oh, I love Up. Except the beginning is very sad. Neve danced the Argentine tango to Pirates of the Caribbean, but it was Johnny Weir who got the highest score of the night with his rumba to Christina Aguilera's song Reflection from Mulan. Executive producer Jeff, well, he's a figure skater. He should be good at dancing. Not all figure skaters are good at dancing. We've had a couple on the show that haven't been good.
It's true. Some of them are power skaters, but Johnny Weir was always an artistic figure skater, so he should be good.
Yeah, let me Tanya Harding. I mean,
power figure skater.
Yeah, bless her heart. She was great, you know.
Bless her heart,
bless
but
her
not
heart.
watch your kneecaps.
No, I mean, you know.
Just kidding.
Hey, that's alleged. That's alleged.
Kneecaps.
That did not happen that way.
I don't know this, people.
Yes, it wasn't her. It was that weird guy. Anyway.
That other guy.
But of course, the show saved one of Disney's most successful movies for Carol Baskin. Look at this.
Day we arrived on the planet, and blinking a step into the sun. There's more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. In the circle of life, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and
Yay! Carol walked toward the camera. Carol's samba, if that's what you would call it. This is just embarrassing. Did not impress the judges. Oh, look at that! Landing her in the bottom two and earning her a one-way trip home. After being eliminated, she said her husband, the alive one, will be very, very happy to see her.
Oh, here he goes. That was better than Carol for sure.
That actually was better.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been informed I'm moving too fast. Here.
Oh, yes, please. Slow it down. More spirit fingers.
There we go.
It's beautiful.
That's basically what she
Beautiful.
did. Thank you.
It's like the move she was making was like the move you make at the Target aisle when you're trying to take your 6-foot distance and you both are jerking this way and that way.
That's a really good analogy,
That's
actually.
exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
I'm insulted for all the lions of the world. She should not have gotten to use that song.
Well, and it's so predictable. Like, we knew she was, I mean, what is she going to do? Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Yeah. Next in the dish. It sounded too scripted. We should have known. Marie Osmond voluntarily leaving the talk on CBS after 1 year to work on other projects. We all thought here at the Jason Show something was up, and it turns out something was up. Yeah. According to Page 6, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood threatened to quit the show if Marie wasn't fired. Carrie-Ann Inaba pleaded with execs, meanwhile, to keep Marie, but they were like, yeah, you're new. No. CBS maintains that they gave Marie an opportunity to succeed elsewhere, and she left on her own accord. Please. Now, I say this as someone, I do enjoy Sharon, and I enjoy Cheryl, but let's just Perry Mason this. Let's just Jessica Fletcher this. Let's look at the facts. This is not the first time that Sharon has allegedly done this. Leah Remini, in her book, said that Sharon was responsible for her exit off the talk. Remember, Leah Remini was on the talk, as was Holly Robinson Peete, which, by the way, note to self, the next time Holly Robinson Peete is on this show, I'm going to ask her that. But anyway, so Sharon has this reputation, and Sharon has a reputation, and this is what I like about her. She gives zero blanks. If she doesn't like somebody, she's going to go to the bosses and say, you know what, I don't have good chemistry with this person. It's either her or me. So this seems feasible to me. You?
I mean, I get it, yeah, and I agree with everything you said, just because of the fact that, like, people want, if Sharon left the talk, I don't know if there would be a talk.
Well,
what do you think?
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Even though it seems, it seems to us with just normal jobs, you know what I mean, quote unquote normal jobs, but this is TV, and I've said this before with the whole Ann Curry, shows like this, ensemble shows are all about chemistry, and if Sharon thinks, as an important member of the ensemble, if Sharon thinks that there is a chemistry, why do I keep calling her Karen? Anyway, if Sharon thinks that there is a chemistry problem with her
and Marie and another one. You know what? You can't really blame Sharon for going to the executive producer and saying, there is a problem here that you need to address. It's show business. It's rough. That's probably why why Marie is taking the high ground. She knows how rough this business is.
It's true.
She's like, you know what? I didn't get along with X, Y, and Z. I'm out. I'm going to go do commercials for Perkins or something.
She does do great commercials. I do wonder, has Marie specifically had issues on other shows before that she's been on? I've never really heard anybody having issues with her.
That's like arguing with cream cheese. You know what I mean? Marie's like a sunflower. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe Marie was, quote, I don't like this term, it seems condescending, but maybe Marie was just a little too goody, a little too pure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For Sharon.
Right. They can think sometimes they think that's boring.
Yeah.
We saw it on Real Housewives. Like, you're boring.
Yeah.
And you out.
See Teddy Mellencamp. We have a lot more to come. We'll be back right after these words.
The hot dish is still hot. Coming up next, Chris Rock reveals all, and I do mean all, to Howard Stern. From therapy to his new abs, Rock rocks it. Then, who knew the best darn onion rings on the planet were found right here in Minnesota? Well, the makers of a new documentary knew the secret, and they'll join us live. And from dolls to micro machines, get ready to smile with a trip down memory lane with some classic retro commercials. That's all coming up. Stay right there.
You actually caused a splash just recently because I don't have to tell you or anybody out there that you're the undisputed queen of Christmas. But you caused a stir by sending out this tweet last week. It says, Thanksgiving is canceled. And listen, if it comes down from on high, that means Thanksgiving is canceled. Did you realize you throw people into such a panic?
No, I have to tell you, that's a chapter in my book. And I just tweeted that as sort of a little teaser for the fans because there's an actual story attached to it. And somebody literally said that to me, like, I just want you to know, Thanksgiving is canceled. And I was like, who's telling Frank Perdue? How are we going to get through this? We got to return all the turkeys.
Thanksgiving isn't canceled. I refuse. I just refuse. Yeah, there's Mariah on Colbert, Mariah Carey, promoting her new book, The Meaning of Mariah, which is out today. I'm going to read that. Mm-hmm. You know what? When I think of Mariah, I think of the daughter, I think of my mom, because I have a young mom, and I'm 46, and my mom won't mind me saying this. She's in her early 60s. Did you like that, Mom? And she was hip. Like, I remember as a teenager, my mom listened to all the music that I listened to. Yeah. So when I had a Mariah CD, she had a Mariah CD. It was awesome. And so she loves, I should say present tense, loves the Mariah. Yeah. Do you notice Mariah never looks directly into the camera?
It's always like this angle.
It's always like this.
Yeah.
Hey lambs. It's always like that.
We should learn something from that.
Because she likes that side of her head. She thinks that's, we all have a good side.
That's her side.
Yeah.
I've had friends get in fist fights over who can be on which side in the picture, your side.
I think you need different friends. I mean, are they really fist fighting over?
No, it's more like, okay, I'm first.
Okay, do you think you have a better side?
Well, you can't really see my face this way, so I usually do
that
this.
One? Yeah.
But I'm with my friends, honestly, I'm the one that's like, just tell me where you want me to stand.
Yeah, you're like Switzerland. Yeah, I think this side's better for me. If I'm, like, hey.
Everyone just you kind of know.
You kind of know. Mariah also talked about her love of Christmas and the song we will be soon hearing over and over and over and over and over again. All I Want for Christmas Is You. I don't mind, though. I love it. And how she felt about it reaching #1 25 years after she wrote it. Look.
What did that mean to you for 25 years later for it to achieve that?
Well, first of all, it's amazing because I wasn't even born when I wrote the song. And then, no, really, the thing about All I Want for Christmas Is You is that it's the first Christmas song I ever wrote. And obviously I love Christmas, but it had last year, courtesy of the Lambs, my fans, it went to #1 on the actual Billboard Hot 100, which, you're competing with people that just started like less than a year ago, and it became the last #1 of 2019 and the first #1 of 2020. So it kind of was very, look, I can't even explain how great it felt.
Yeah, she's one of those. She's in rarefied air. She's one of those stars that have had hits in multiple decades. You know, like Cher. I think she's had a hit in every decade. Mariah is the same way from the 90s forward. That's a feat. You may not like her music, but that is, what is it? 80s. Did she have one in the 89? You're right, absolutely. 80s, 90s, and today, those radio station commercials. But yeah, she's had a hit in every decade.
She has, and she's one of those people who it's just one name.
Mariah. Yeah,
You know?
Mariah. You don't need to see anything else, yeah. Next in the dish, we're not the only ones who play show and tell. James Corden does it as well. He had Jeff Daniels on, and take a look at what Jeff pulled out from his past.
I don't know if you're aware, I was in the movie Dumb and Dumber. And
we absolutely are aware.
Thank you. Please stay seated. When we were shooting that, there's of course the chairlift scene where I'm on the chair and my tongue gets stuck to the pole. Here's a picture from the movie, right? Okay. We made 12 tongues because that, of course, isn't my real tongue. It doesn't stretch that far. So this is one of the tongues.
Oh, wow.
That they made. That there was a piece that you would put in, and it had an upper and it fit your mouth, and then it had a little screw hole, and you would literally screw the tongue in, and then it's there.
That is sensational.
Ew. Jeff stars on the new Showtime limited series, The Comey Rule. That's just. Can you imagine how that feels? I'm like a texture kind of.
I know. I'm just thinking of like the things that would get caught on that tongue now, like the little pieces of lint that are from a billion
the
years
80s
ago.
or the 90s, yeah. Here's one of the. I love Jim Carrey. Fun fact: I've only seen Dumb and Dumber once. I know people love that movie. I've only seen it once, and that's not really. But in my defense, it's really not my type of humor. I don't.
Unforgivable from me
have you seen
and
it?
Ted. A billion times, like all good red-blooded Americans.
Yeah, well, okay, I guess I'll move to Canada because I've only seen it once, and that was years ago. And I was like, meh. Yeah, I didn't even, I know, I just
Mark,
believe me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're quoting right now.
Yeah.
No. Next in the dish, Chris Rock was on with Howard Stern yesterday, and the two talked about everything. Chris's new show, Fargo, season 4 just debuted over the weekend. So Chris is on a promotional tour and he stopped by Howard. The first thing that happened, which was so funny, and you're seeing this from time to time, Howard was giving Chris a really hard time because Chris has really crappy internet. And it kept breaking up, and Howard goes, Chris, you need to fire your assistant because I saw you on The View, and I guess Chris's internet was breaking down on The View too, and then it was breaking down on Stern. But as our good friend Marianne from Brooklyn, Jason, as Marianne said, this is probably one of the best Stern interviews I have ever heard. And I mean this. Chris,
really?
Absolutely. Chris was on for several hours, and Howard does what he does best, and that is leading a conversation and letting his guests shine and letting them explore various topics that you can't normally explore in a 4-minute segment. And one of the revelations, he talks about a variety of very serious things. He talks about his divorce. He really opened up about therapy. He sees 3 therapists, and a lot of it is due to the trauma that he faced as a child, as the only black student in a predominantly white school. And he talked about kind of the lessons that he learned, and he said, I came across one of my bullies, and one of his bullies ended up being security on an Adam Sandler movie. And he's like, and Howard goes, well, did you go to the, basically, did you go to the press and call this guy out? And he goes, what would that prove? He goes, because now I'm an adult, it would only show that I don't know any better. I'm just hoping that he now knows better, because he called Chris every imaginable name that you can think of. And he goes, no, that, if that guy has a child, a family, me going to the press and saying, this guy in 1981 called me this name would do nothing for my soul. And it was a very different Chris Rock. So he talked about how he's in therapy for those traumatic experiences, and he really has experienced trauma. But one of the lighter things he talked about was his comedy shows and how comedy has really changed over the years. And one of the revelations, I was like, I never thought about that. If you've ever gone to a comedy show and your phone's been taken away, I know I've gone to a movie and my phone's been put in one of those little bags and you can get it at the end of the show. He was telling Howard, Howard goes, you do that with 1,000 people? He goes, oh yeah, I did it at Wembley. He goes, I hire a company that manages thousands of these cell phones. And he said, because what happens is, if this is new material, let's just say you're going to a Chris Rock show and Chris is doing new material, and then you upload that show on YouTube, the comedian can't go to Netflix and sell that material because it's already all over YouTube, and it made a lot of sense to me.
Right. And weren't you saying too, when we were talking beforehand, that he was kind of saying, hey, they do this for everything else. They just don't do it for comedy.
Yeah, it was another kind of little, as Oprah would say, a little aha moment. He said, stand-up comedians don't get the same courtesy. For instance, I don't know if you know this, but there's a kind of an open, agreed upon arrangement between the theater community and, let's say, the New York Times or big publications. They won't review a new Broadway show during what's referred to as a preview season, where they're working out the kinks. The same with restaurants. I know, for instance, Stephanie March won't go to a restaurant in its first couple days of opening because you're getting the kinks out. Critics don't do that with stand-up comedians. And Chris said something that, just as a non-comedian, I've never thought about. He's like, when you see comedians at little clubs, smaller clubs like Acme or in LA, the Comedy Store, he's like, we are trying out new material. So for anybody to judge that and critique that is unfair. He goes, wait until we do specials, because that is the finished product that we're delivering to the customer. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And he also ranked comedians. He said Eddie Murphy is perhaps the most talented comedian ever. And he goes, Chappelle is right there, right on his coattails. And he's right up there. Seinfeld as well. And he said that one of the most the person that doesn't get enough credit, Joan Rivers. He said no matter if Joan Rivers was doing a Hollywood Squares or doing an infomercial, Joan went 60 miles an hour. You may not have liked Joan's jokes, but he said Joan had a work ethic that even her enemies would say they can't compete with. Mm-hmm. Fascinating interview. You can listen to Chris's full interview on the Sirius XM app. Just search for Howard Stern. Howard, I love you. Another stellar interview. Still ahead, everybody. We're going back in time with some retro toys, but next, folks in southwestern Minnesota are going to love this. There are some onion rings that are the best in the country. Coming up, a new documentary. That's Marie Osmond, but she's not in the documentary. Just trust me when I say that. This documentary is taking you into the kitchen with these rings. We'll be right back, everybody, without Marie Osmond. Welcome back, everyone. For anyone who grew up in southwestern Minnesota in small towns like Heron Lake, Brewster, or Windham, there was a restaurant everyone remembers in the city of Worthington. Michael's Steakhouse was the place to eat. And there's one thing almost every single person ordered: the onion rings. Named the best in America, there they are right there, by the Washington Post. Although the restaurant closed, the rings lived on thanks to the guy who made them, Larry Lang. Now, a new documentary looks at one filmmaker's mission to make the onion rings world famous. Look at this.
Documentarian should be a fly on the wall.
Were you?
At first I was.
Larry Lang, he makes the world's greatest onion rings.
This was the first idea I had. I was gonna make a movie about these onion rings.
Larry said yes hesitantly when he first agreed to it. That's just not Larry's thing. He likes to be in the background.
He didn't really want to do the movie.
He needs people to tell him what's best for him. I formed a company. I invested in top-of-the-line cameras, accessories, drones.
I'm not sure why you want to go to Minnesota right now, but I heard it's all about onion rings.
3 years. That's right. Why do you want to go to Minnesota in December? That's a clip from the documentary The Ringmaster. And joining us live via Zoom are the people behind the movie, filmmaker Zachary and directors Molly and Dave. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having us.
No, thank you for being here. So I want everyone to see this, and you guys would admit this is a little multi-layered. The story is a little convoluted. So Zachary, I'm going to start with you because we're going to peel back the layers of this so people understand the story. You grew up visiting your grandparents in Worthington and eating these rings. That's how this started, right?
That's how it started. So back in 2015, I actually had just exited rehab. I had a gambling addiction. And shortly afterwards, my grandfather had passed away, Martin Kapp. He was a big philanthropic figure in the Twin Cities area. And all my life, he told me to follow my passion and become a filmmaker. And I decided to use the inheritance money that he left me and form a production company with my brothers. And I decided to assemble a team, and I wanted to tell a story about something that was very near and dear to my heart, and that was the onion rings that I grew up having in Worthington, Minnesota at Michael's Steakhouse. Everybody was, they were so beloved, and Larry and Linda Lang are so beloved. And I mean, anybody that has these onion rings will tell you there's really nothing quite like them.
Okay,
And,
but why? But what is it, Zachary? Because everyone watching has eaten their fair share of onion rings. We got the string variety, the full variety. Was it the breading? Was it the spices, the texture? What was it that made them so good?
It's the secret family batter. And, they really, that's their family heirloom. And, they're thin, they're not really uniform, they're all different shape onions. There's really nothing quite like them, to tell you the truth. But so what I was doing was I wanted to pay homage to this family, and I also wanted to pay homage to my grandfather, but I ultimately got lost I lost sight of the storytelling because I wanted to create a happy ending for Larry and his onion rings, because I felt that he deserved more. And the crew that I assembled thought that what was happening behind the scenes, my attempts to make Larry and his onion rings world famous, was more compelling. So they kind of mutinied against me, and I can let Dave shine a light on that.
Yeah, Dave, is mutiny a fair word? Because it's
a strong word.
Yeah. Okay. So how about this, Dave? You stepped in because you noticed things changing. And was this an open secret? And what were you noticing?
Yeah, the crew were friends of mine that Zach had hired. I was in LA working on some animated television series. And they were calling me and saying that Zach, had a lot of passion, really wanted to tell the story of the Langs and these onion rings, but didn't really have a plan, didn't go in with a shot list. They didn't know what they were doing there. So they called me a few times, and eventually I told them, do what Zach wants, get all the footage that he's asking you, but also make sure you're shooting Zach, always.
And Zach, you didn't know that, right? You didn't know that they were shooting you as well.
I didn't know this until later in the production, but it was always a labor of love for me, and it was very important that we honor this family and Larry Lang, who really is the hardest working man I've ever met in my life. And even though, there are some uncomfortable moments in this film, but I think there's a lot of heart too. This really, with all the ugliness and divisiveness in the world today, this really, in my opinion, is still a hometown movie with a lot of heart.
Well, speaking of hometown, okay, Molly, I want to bring you in into the puzzle of onion rings. You're a Minnesota native. How did you get involved?
So Dave and Zach and I were all freshmen the same year at Ithaca College, and we were friends a little bit then. And then I had a crush on Dave and sort of followed him on social media, and then found out he was getting divorced. And we were both living in LA, and I pounced when he was getting divorced. And he happened to be, when we first started dating, working on this onion ring movie with Zach. And I found out that. So when I found out it was about Minnesota onion rings, I thought, that's weird. Why does Zach know about Minnesota onion rings, where I'm from? And found out that Zach's dad and my mom were literal next door neighbors on Edgecombe Road in St. Paul.
Oh my goodness.
And they played together as kids, and my mom was best friends with his aunt.
Oh my goodness.
So it was totally bizarre. So I felt like it was just meant to be that I was going to be working on this movie, and that I was going to become best friends with Zach because of our, random Minnesota history. And then I got to know the subject matter because there were hundreds of hours of footage that Zach had shot with his crew that needed to be logged. So I first joined the team as a footage logger. And so I was watching the story unfold through the footage from 2 years before, and got really sucked in, found it really compelling, and then also found it really unfinished, and wondered how we could
land the plane.
Land the plane and think of the story in a way that was more of a narrative, and what was the narrative. And so then we got into really intense conversations and discussions and like philosophical questions together about what story is this? And that was unfolding in real time, even as I was logging footage from years before.
Well, how did they land the plane? What happened to Larry? There's so many more questions, but Molly, before we go to break, I have to say my favorite line of this entire week is you. I found out he's getting a divorce and I pounced. That is the line of the week. I'm just saying. Now, Zachary, Molly, and David are sticking around after the break. Like I said, glam rockers, Kiss, factor into this story and find out how Larry is doing today. More with the Ringmasters when we come back. Stay with us, everyone. He's getting a divorce.
I wasn't going to let him put the brakes on this production. What about a big parade?
The Onion Ring documentary is not something worth years of your life.
He's so excited he's running away.
Maybe I got too close to their lives.
Can I give you a hug?
I love you, man.
You can't keep pushing somebody like that. You don't want this now.
That was terrifying. Kiss just loved your onion rings.
You guys are going to the NFL. I might have pushed him too far.
That's another clip from the trailer for the Ringmaster new documentary focusing on a filmmaker's journey to make a Minnesota man's onion rings world famous. Well, welcome back to the show. I'm talking to the people behind the movie, filmmaker Zachary and directors Molly and Dave. Okay, so you're in the middle of the movie. Did Larry want to be, Zachary, I'll throw this to you. Did Larry want to be involved at all initially?
Well, he told me yes, but there's something called Minnesota Nice, which I think might play a factor in that. And it's really up for the audience to decide. I believe that he always wanted to be involved, but the crew might think differently. And, you know, it's really up for the audience's interpretation. But it was always a labor of love for me. And I wanted to pay homage to this family that was so beloved throughout the Midwest and beyond.
Dave, we saw in that clip right there, and I teased it, Kiss gets involved with the onion rings.
Right.
How did that happen?
I have no, I mean, it was the most random thing ever. One day, Zach called me and said that Kiss was going to taste the onion rings, or he had set up something with Kiss. There's, in the documentary, there's another character that enters the scene who's sort of a big player in the South Dakota area and had access to Kiss. And so, yeah, it was random. And I wasn't even really part of the production at that point. I was sort of just Zach's friend and friend of the crew. And yeah, that was another moment where I was like, get everything with Kiss, but also make sure Zach's on record. So we have behind the scenes footage.
Okay, well, Molly, was Zach, I mean, Zach probably by this point, you knew that you were being, I mean, you can tell when a camera's facing you. So Molly, let me ask you, was Zach, because I wanted your perspective on this, was Zach responsive? Was he receptive to shifting the focus to him?
So this definitely is a question for Zach, but to me it seemed like he was willing because he had assembled people that he trusted, that he loved, who love him back. So he was sort of willing, but hopeful that it wouldn't end up being about him. It was just like for safety that we were going to capture everything just for safety. And then of course it was going to be about Larry's onion rings and the end.
Yeah, but it was a struggle, I think, for Zach at first. I don't even think at that point he was aware that, you know, we were kind of shooting as much footage of him as we were of everything else.
Zachary, we have about a little over a minute left. I want to give you the last word with two important questions. How is Larry doing now? And where do the onion rings stand now? Can people get them?
Well, in terms of how Larry's doing now, I really don't want to reveal that, but I will say that the film, in addition to it being about onion rings, it also deals with mental health, addiction, and ultimately Alzheimer's disease, which plays a role in the film. And when the film comes out next week on digital on demand, 1 week from today, actually, I just want your whole audience to know that every purchase is going to benefit Alzheimer's research, which plays an important role in the film. And in terms of where you can get the onion rings, I believe the film plants a seed for an opportunity that might still come for the Lang family. Because I believe this family who served for 6 decades in the Midwest, I mean, these onion rings have been around since 1949. I believe they still deserve a happy ending.
You know how to tease something, Zach. I'll give you that. Look at that. Zach's like, okay, I'm not going to answer that, but watch a movie. And I'm not going to. You are the master, man. I love it. Zach, Molly, and Dave, thank you. I want everybody to see this for so many reasons. I appreciate your time. The Ringmaster, as Zach said, is available to stream starting next week, October 6th. And for more information, go to theringmaster.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back, everybody, we're hopping in the time machine with some of your favorite toys from the past. You'll see what we mean right after this. By the movie, TV boy. You can... Great camera work by Mr. Adam over there with our little shelf. Welcome back. In this era of nonstop Zooms and working from home, it seems people are feeling really nostalgic. We all are. I've been listening to old songs, and anyway, not only are board games and puzzles sales way up, but new research finds many people are on the hunt for retro toys from our childhoods, helping us remember the past and introduce younger folks to the things that we loved. Hashtag He-Man. We're looking at the past today because it's time for a Tuesday throwback, y'all. That's right. We're going to have some fun with it. And, you know, we're going to be doing this from time to time this season because I think we all are trying to find these, I call them warm blankets. Today, it's all about toys from the 80s with the help of classic commercials. First up, the toy that defined, that's arguable, but okay. Actually, this one is. Defined the 80s. Look at this.
Good parents for Cabbage Patch Kids.
The Cabbage Patch Kids. Each doll is different, and you can pretend to adopt them.
My baby has a real diaper.
You can love and care for them, like your very own.
You're a pal. You're the only one. I love you.
They're each one of a kind. They're Cabbage Patch Kids.
Who can forget Cabbage Patch Kids, which first hit it big in 1982 and had Xavier Roberts' name tattooed on their butt. That's right. And I wanted one, and my dad did not want me to have one. I've told this story twice on the show. Did not want me to have one, refused to let me have one. And my mom and Grandma Mazak took me to Zare, which was like a Target.
Oh, okay.
And my mom bought me a Kusa. Do you remember the Kusa? They were the pets of the Cabbage Patch Kid. And I went home, and my dad was like having a fit, and my grandmother was like, don't you go there. And yeah, so everyone listen to Grandma Mazak. The next toy was the topic of conversation in the Jason Show studio yesterday because neither Kendall or floor director Tyler had ever, I'm thinking of the little tiles, had ever heard of them. Remember this?
Make the sun shine. Color in a shrinky-dink, cut out a shrinky-dink. Then Mom bakes it and right before your eyes, your shrinky-dink shrinks right down to size. Like magic.
Fabulous. Fantastic.
We were so easily amused in the 80s. Shrinky Dinks hit it big in the era of Reagan. They were actually invented by two moms outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as a Cub Scout project with their boys. I loved them. You would. It was like a two-step love because you got to color them in, so that kept you occupied for like 7 minutes. And then your mom put them in the oven because you weren't allowed to touch the oven, and then you'd watch them shrink, and then you just looked at them, and then the fun was over. But yeah, you're supposed to play with them, but then they would break. Remember, you would drop them, or your annoying cousin Randy would come over and take your toys and then break them. I'm not bitter or anything. I'm just saying, yeah.
Randy,
Yeah,
shame on you.
But you didn't know, yeah. Now, do you want to play with them?
I mean, not really.
Oh, whatever. Next up, classic dolls may be making a comeback, but so are classic toys like Hot Wheels and action toys like what are they called? The little Zoom, the little track things.
Oh,
anyway,
the track.
Yeah, another toy known for their fast-talking commercials. Look at this.
This is the Micro Machine Man presenting the most midget miniature motorcade of micro machines. Each one has dramatic details, terrific trim, precision paint jobs, plus incredible micro machine pocket playsets. There's a police station, fire station, restaurant, service station, and more. Perfect pocket portables to take any place. And there are many miniature playsets to play with, and each one comes with its own special edition micro machine vehicle and fun, fantastic features that miraculously move. Rate the
Okay, say that backwards, everybody. That's one of the many commercials for Micro Machines, and we dedicate that to Ted, producer Ted. We are going through the commercials we're going to show today, and he's like, where are the Micro Machines? There you go. Finally, boy band mania hit big in the late 80s, and one of the first boy bands of this era had their own action dolls. Look at this.
It's the new kids on the block. Joseph, Jonathan, Jordan, Donnie, and Danny. Who's their #1 fan?
I'm the #1 fan. I've got all 5 concert kits with all 5 personal interview cassettes. I am. I've got all 5 concert kits with their cassettes and the new kids stage. Plus all 5 kids in their street clothes. I'm the #1 fan. I've got all the kids, their stage, and the new kids on the block phone.
The new kids on the block. Who's their #1 fan?
I am.
New kids on the block. Concert kits come with
Please, nobody had 5 because nobody bought Danny. That's the New Kids on the Block stage set with action figures and performance stage. Don't send me hate. When you went to Spencer's and you got the big New Kids on the Block buttons in the bin, you know who was always left? Danny. You couldn't find Jordan, you couldn't find Jonathan, and you couldn't find Joey. Donnie was a hit and miss. If you went there on stock day at Spencer's, you could maybe find Donnie Wahlberg. But Danny, there were 8,000 Danny buttons left.
Poor Danny.
Poor Danny. There's a Chris Kirkpatrick in every band. We're going to take a break, everybody. We'll be back right after these words. Stay with us. Now you just got that right. Yes. Oh, we are getting the comments today on social media. We're going to do more commercial segments. People are like, you forgot this one. Like Transformers, my favorite, Milky the cow. That was just my favorite toy. Dar will tell you, I cried for it. You put a milk pellet in its butt, and then and then water, and then you pump the tail, and then you milked it. It was.
You pumped the tail? Don't they know how to?
It mixed the pellet with the water, and then you got fake milk, and then little teeth, and then you milked the cow. It had a little bucket, and then you moved the head, and it would moo. It was fun for like a day.
Sounds fascinating.
You can watch our show on YouTube if you miss it live. Just search for The Jason Show on YouTube. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell. That will remind you when we upload new content. Love the Milky the cow, sorry. We're going to take a break. We'll be back to wrap things up right after these words. Trust me. Got it. Got it. Welcome back, everybody. So a little throwback and a throwback. You remember Molly Kendall from our segment earlier with the Onion, the Ringmaster? Molly has a little Jason Show connection. She was a part of a pilot that we shot for the original version of the Jason Show. Let me quickly explain. In 2013, I left Fox 9 for a year because the boss at the time, Bill, only wanted to pay me like $3. So I left. Bill's like, nope, you're worth $3, and I left the station. And then I couldn't work in another TV station for a year. Well, then Bill got the boot. No, he left. Bill left, and then my current boss came in, Mimi, and she goes, Jason, come back home. Let's meet. We met. We filmed a pilot that executive producer Jeff worked on, a version of this show. So we did a fake show with Molly as a guest because she did a Lorde music video parody. So Molly was our guest, and Desperate Housewives star James Denton, who lives down the road, who we used to be friends, and then he stopped. I don't know what I did to him, but he, like a couple years ago, he stopped returning emails.
Did
I
you
don't know
come
what
on
I did.
too strong? Like, please be my friend.
I don't know. Maybe it was cologne or something. But James, if you're watching, I love you. But anyway, so Molly, thanks for taking part in the pilot, and look where we are now. The Ringmaster will be available on demand. Just search for it wherever you get on-demand movies. Coming up very soon. Tomorrow, I'm talking live to Masked Singer judge Kim Jong about the newest season, plus a scoop on his new show, I Can Hear Your Voice. Join us tomorrow. But that's going to do it for us today. If you're a kid watching that's being bullied, you go out there and be yourself, because nobody can tell you you're doing it wrong. Thank you for watching, and if you know where to get some good onion rings now, let me know. Bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.